Hi, this is Matt Bradley-Tschirgi. I'm an author of such books as the films of Eddie Murphy and Star Trek video games, an unofficial look at the Final Frontier. We are going to try something a little bit different here, streaming here on Twitch. If you like what you see, please give me a follow, uh, but or subscribe, whatever it is on the platform you're watching this on. But what I am doing today is we're going to do, if you have questions, feel free to chat, but we're going to kind of react to this teaser that just dropped today about Spaceballs 2, Lawn in the Works. My thoughts on Spaceballs 1, my thoughts on the Spaceballs TV show in brief, and also kind of the news about some of the casting, which is pretty exciting. This has been in the works in a while, so let's get started. We got the video. Let's see, we got the video right here. Okay, great. And we're going to go start from the beginning, and I'll pause and comment on the jokes and stuff. So that is a Spaceballs overture from the original film. Nice to hear it back. It's a fantastic John Williams kind of pastiche. 38 years ago, there was only one Star Wars trilogy. That's true. Yeah, 1977, right? Yeah, so I mean, since then, there has been a prequel trilogy, a sequel trilogy. This is, the way this crawl, we see how long it is. It's a bit like the introduction of the original Spaceballs, where like the spaceship goes on forever and ever and ever. Really one of the best gags in the movies in that first 2 minutes. I think what's really smart about this writing here for this teaser is it's saying things that sound absurd and yet they're still true. So it talks about a prequel trilogy. This is mentioning Star Wars, right? Which of course is the George Lucas directed prequels of Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith. A sequel trilogy, right? When Disney took over, you had Force Awakens and Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. A sequel to the prequel, which I'm guessing that is the Solo Han Solo origin story, right? Which is in between the prequels and sequels. And then it says a prequel to the sequel must be Rogue One. The way that's worded, you can kind of interpret it some different ways. I guess a prequel to the sequel meaning the sequel trilogy to the prequels, right? So, because both of those Star Wars spin-off films they've done to date are, you have the Solo and Rogue One are in between episodes 3 and 4. So, and yet when they say prequel to the sequel, could they be referring to like that? Yeah, I'm overthinking this, but anyway, let's keep going. Countless TV spinoffs. Yeah, that's true. There's cartoon series, a lot of TV shows, especially since Disney Plus took over. Oh, hey, we got a viewer. Thanks very much for tuning in. If you get any Spaceballs questions, feel free. A movie spinoff of the TV spinoff, which is both a prequel and a sequel. Okay, that is referring to the upcoming Mandalorian and Baby Grogu movie that comes out. Oh, I don't even know if it's this year. I think it's next year. I'm a bad Star Wars fan, I guess. It's been a while. Not to mention, I'm just going to keep listing sequels. Again, I really like that it goes on forever. That it, I mean, for one, this is a cheap trailer to make, right? Because it's mostly text. We'll see there's a bit of video at the end. Let's keep going. But also, like, it's the tongue-in-cheek. It's spoofy, and yet it's dropping accurate knowledge just in an absurdist kind of way. Not to mention 2 Dunes. Now, this is talking about since the first Star Wars came out. That's actually wrong. There's 3 Dunes. There's the David Lynch Dune, and then there's the recent Dune 1 and 2. 7 Jurassic Parks. Yep. Yeah, that one's completely right. You have the original trilogy, you have the more recent one, and then there's a seventh one coming out this summer with Scarlett Johansson. This some of these next ones I think are pretty good. So 2 avatars plus 3 upcoming avatars, making 5 avatars. Which the third avatar. I'm not really. I think that comes out next year. There's been some concept art that came out where they're battling like a fire tribe of avatars or something, or of the Na'vi. I think one of these 5 Avatar movies is going to be a prequel or something explaining the main dude before he decided to, live remotely in an alien body or whatever. Those aren't my favorite. 36 MCU, so that's Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. 36 MCU movies with 2 different Robert Downey Jr.'s. I can't believe it's been 36, but that sounds right with the aggressive pace they've been releasing them. The 2 different Robert Downey Jr.'s is throwing me for a loop here. Are they referring to like the de-aged one that's in the beginning of Iron Man 3 or something? I see. Yeah, they're referring to in the upcoming Avengers movie, Robert Downey Jr. is playing a different, playing Doctor Doom. DCU attempt number 1, right, which was the Zack Snyder stuff, Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, all that. DCU attempt number 2, that's the one that's starting this summer with, directed by James Gunn. He's kind of the impresario of the current DC films, so it's really big on them for the Superman to be a hit. Of course, you got to pick on Disney because it's an easy target. An animated Lion King. Yep, a live-action animated Lion King. That's also right, where it looks so realistic. When I watched it, my pet dog was howling at the TV. A live-action animated Lion King prequel, the Mufasa one, right? I still can't believe they're doing this, but they're accurate and funny at the same time. That's a hard balance, right? 8 Harry Potter movies. Which because they split book 7 into 2, which kind of started a trend of them doing that, right, with other stuff. A TV series remaking the same 8 Harry Potter movies. Wow. I mean, that's just... that they're doing that. They're just have been announcing, the cast for different cast members. And it is just really crazy to see. To me, that's just so uninspired. Let's remake... I mean, I get the original Harry Potter movies made billions of dollars, but it's like, let's do it as a TV series. I don't know. It's just... it strikes me as lazy. A whole streaming service of Star Trek. Yeah, Paramount Plus, pretty much. Although how Star Trek will change after if the Paramount and Skydance merger falls through, or even if it goes through with new management, there's going to be a shake-up for sure. Yeah, wow. So it's bouncing all over the place with the science fiction stuff and fantasy, kind of in the same wheelhouse as Spaceballs, right? So 7 Alien movies, 2 of which were also Predator movies. So that's talking about Alien versus Predator and Alien versus Predator Requiem. Not to be mistaken for the 6 Predator movies that are not also Alien movies. Right. And they just had, I guess with the Predator movie titles are so confusing because you have stuff like Predators, The Predator, right? All different movies, similar titles. And they did a cartoon one on Hulu recently. But yeah, 1 Prometheus, which is kind of an alien movie. I'll push back on that. That is an alien movie. 4 Beatles movies. I Want to Hold Your Hand and Help are 2 that come to mind. Let It Be was a there's some documentaries, but sure, there's a gazillion Beatles documentaries. And I think they're referring to movies that the Beatles themselves, starred in while they were still the Beatles at the time when everyone is still alive. And Oppenheimer. What I also like about this teaser, they don't have a narrator in a goofy voice saying all these things. I mean, I think a big mistake, given Mel Brooks movies can be broad, that being said, it is really something where if you are goofy while you're telling a joke. It's not always as funny as being kind of understated. And forcing audience members, in this case, we're just watching this on YouTube, on Twitch, right? You get to read, and you get to, reading something and then finding it funny is different than having it told to you in a goofy voice, like one Prometheus, which is kind of an alien movie, 4 Beatles movies. I mean, if it had a voice like that, that would just be really tacky and not be great. That stupid laser effect, I think, is one of the best things of the Spaceballs overture. Just solid stuff. But in 38 years, there has only ever been one. This makes me want to see Spaceballs. I mean, that'd be kind of a funny video. I haven't seen Spaceballs all the way through in at least a decade. But while I didn't have the videotape growing up, it always seemed to be at pizza parties at my friends' houses where they'd rent it from Blockbuster. So I've seen Spaceballs way too many times. In fact, when I worked at a computer camp, we showed Spaceballs to some of the kids, and I had to physically walk out of the room because I was mouthing the lines along as the characters said it. It was a bit too much. Again, look at that Spaceballs logo. Just really classy. It has kind of the big, fat letters of Star Wars, but it's legally distinct. There's also a little bit something about it that reminds me of the font on some of the old Alien posters. And it might just be the kind of, very distinct letters there. Until now, yeah. So I mean, this Spaceballs sequels, there's been rumors of it for a while. I don't think it's been, and the original Spaceballs did good in theaters, not great, right? So I mean, it didn't make like Young Frankenstein or Blazing Saddles money, but it did above average, but it wasn't like a huge smash. But on video and the DVD and all the home video stuff, it sold so well that Mel Brooks jokes that he'll never have to. He doesn't have to worry about buying expensive bottles of wine because he has to remind himself he made Spaceballs, and it did by far the best out of all his stuff on video. And you can also, a good way to check, even if you don't have access to official sales numbers, is if they release with video. I mean, this is a tangent, but screw it. If they release a movie when a new video format comes out and it's one of the first ones released, that's one tip off that it's a bestseller. Meaning, like let's say Laserdisc comes out or 4K. I mean, the 4K disc format, was kind of a flop, but because a lot of the streaming had taken over. Well, let's say they come out with an 8K disc. I bet for physical media that'll be the next thing they do, right? Which would have to do a lot of storage, but anyhow, on 8K, right? You can bet your ass that MGM, well now it's Amazon MGM Studios, would release Spaceballs on it immediately. And also, if you see multiple versions of it released in one format, that's also how you know it's a bestseller, where it's like special doopity-doo edition, blah, 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 anniversary edition. Oh, now with the steelbook, now with this, right? They don't do that on catalog titles that don't sell. They do it with stuff that they know the fans will rebuy it over and over again, and then it's something with cross-generational appeal. I mean, I'm ashamed to say this, but I saw Spaceballs before seeing Star Wars, which is a really weird way to get into Star Wars. And yet I knew some Star Wars stuff from video game reviews of Star Wars and things like that. So
after 4
until now, Mel Brooks is, let's look and see how old he is, man. Mel Brooks is 98 years old. So this is 2025. By the time this movie comes out, and they're going to announce the release date in here of 2027, he'll be 100. But that he has Spaceballs sweatshirt. They're already thinking of, he played the Yoda character in the movie, as well as Scroob, but I don't know if Scroob will be in the new one. But he's like, it's all about the merchandising. Spaceballs, the sweatpants, the action figure, blah, 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 right? So, I mean, the Spaceballs is a sweatshirt, goofy gag straight out of the film.
40 years. We asked What do the fans want? But instead,
This is a classic Mel Brooks kind of Borscht Belt shtick setup. It's like for 40 years we asked what did the fans want in a Spaceballs sequel, but yeah, you're waiting for the other shoe to drop.
we're making this movie.
But we're making this movie. So I am hoping it's playful with how what fans expect of sequels and what it delivers. Of course, it'll spoof God, all the different science fiction stuff that's happened since Spaceballs, which has been a lot. Not just Star Wars, but Alien and Star Trek and all that other stuff. So could do The Expanse. Could do. I mean, there's no limits of what you could do. So to do that through a Mel Brooks lens, and he's not directing the movie, but there you go. So yeah, and here we get Darth Helmet. Did we just see something flash there? Let's see.
Movie.
So detail, he has a Band-Aid on with, because recall in the new Star Wars movies, the mask for, well, it wasn't Darth Vader, it was, I haven't seen the new Disney ones in a while. The Adam Driver character, the bad guy, has the cracks on it. Kylo Ren, excuse me. So it's kind of reminiscent of that. He has a Band-Aid on here. That you're seeing some smoke. That's some nice atmospherics. And it just opens up. It says, The Schwartz Awakens in 2027. Upon, of course, on The Force Awakens, which was Star Wars Episode 7. This came out 10 years ago, something like that.
May the Schwartz be with you.
Of course, he's not doing it. He's delivering that line, "May the Schwartz be with you," as Mel Brooks, not as Yogurt, which is more of a kind of old man shyster kind of voice. Of course, now Mel Brooks is a very old man at 98, so and people's voices change over time. But I mean, I'm excited to see him back in the part, and we're gonna for the other part of this video, we're gonna look at the news about the casting, which is limited, but still some exciting stuff in there. Only in theaters. Nice to see that, even though Amazon owns MGM now, they could dump it to streaming, but that they want to put it in theaters shows that, one, it shows likely they're giving it a pretty good budget. So, yeah, really curious. Really good teaser. Does the assignment. It didn't cost, they just had to film Mel Brooks in his home office or something, most likely, and do a text crawl, which is special effects, and the helmet with the smoke atmospherics. I mean, it really cheap to make, really funny. Doesn't say anything about the cast. It's just teasing. And then this came out this day, but here we get to see on Deadline Bill Pullman and Rick Moranis returning for new Spaceballs. Keke Palmer, Lewis Pullman also set. Lewis Pullman, that's Bill Pullman's son. Interesting. Okay, so let's read through this. And we can see, Bill Pullman, of course, was Lone Star, the hero in the first one. Rick Moranis is coming out of retirement, back as, but I'm getting ahead of myself, but back as Darth Helmet. Keke Palmer, I'm sure I've seen her in something. She looks sort of familiar. I don't quite recognize her. And Lewis Pullman, I saw in, I believe, the Salem's Lot remake. So, and you can't tell from this picture, but if he turns his head slightly with the hairline and the grin, he does look like his father, Bill Pullman, a lot. You can see not the nose, but the eyebrows are similar between the two. So here we go, right? Exclusive updated with new non-exclusive details. I don't know if that's in the press release or not, but that's pretty funny. Bill Pullman and Rick Moranis are set to reprise their respective roles as Lone Star and Dark Helmet in the new Spaceballs movie from Amazon MGM Studios, with Keke Palmer from One of Them Days joining the cast, sources tell Deadline. Amazon declined to comment, and character details for Palmer are under wraps, as is the sequel's plot. Also newly on board in an undisclosed role is Pullman's son, rising star Lewis Pullman, who's right here, as who was in Thunderbolts, which I've not seen that Marvel movie yet. I've heard that's one of the better recent ones. I'm a bit behind on those, and way behind on the TV series. As a Hollywood Reporter is first to report this afternoon, the addition of and this next paragraph I really agree with. Having his son in there, I wonder if Lone Star's son is going to be evil. If that might be the story, which wouldn't be a bad guess. But this next part I think is a really good point. The addition of Moranis, though, is particularly striking as the actor hasn't been seen much on screen for decades. Yeah, because he essentially retired in the late 90s. His wife died, I believe, of cancer, unfortunately, and he made the decision. He had enough money saved up and like, I'm just going to raise my kids and be a normal guy. He did, appear in, he's done voice. Oh, he was like a voice of one of the mooses, one of the moose in Brother Bear, the Disney thing. He did a commercial with Ryan Reynolds for Mint Mobile a little while back. And but he has not been in a live action film, and he did 2 comedy albums, but he has not been in a live action film in a while. As announced this morning, the original film's director and star Mel Brooks will also feature in the cast once again, reprising his role as Yogurt, again the Yoda character, right? Slated for release in 2027, the film has been described by those who have not yet the script as a non-prequel, non-reboot sequel, part 2, but with reboot elements franchise expansion film. Again, that's very kind of a Mel Brooks style joke, and I can even see Yogurt saying that as a line of dialogue in the movie. What do you think? This isn't a sequel. It's a non-prequel, non-reboot sequel part 2, but with reboot elements, franchise expansion film. Not a sequel at all, something different. It's not really what Yogurt exactly sounds like, but it's that kind of thing. Josh Greenbaum, Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar. That was a very funny movie that he also directed, I guess. Will direct Spaceballs 2 from a script by Benji Summit, Dan Hernandez, and Josh Gad, as announced in June of last year. Gad is also expected to star. If I had to guess, Josh Gad might play like the son or brother of John Candy's character Mog, the Chewbacca character from the first film. That would be my guess. Will produce alongside Imagine Entertainment's Brian Grazer and Jeb Brody, Mel Brooks, and Josh Greenbaum, with Kevin Salter, Adam Marims, Benji Summit, and Dan Hernandez executive producing. Released by MGM, and this kind of summarizes the actors, but it's good to know in case you don't know, right? Released by MGM in 1987, the original Spaceballs is an iconic send-up of the sci-fi genre, which took inspiration from the Star Wars franchise and other classics like 2001: A Space Odyssey. Mentioning Alien would have been nice. That Alien spoof in the bar is something people always bring up from Spaceballs. The plot revolves around the evil Dark Helmet, Moranis, and President Scroob. Scroob is Brooks is an anagram of Brooks, who attempt to steal the atmosphere of the peaceful planet Duridia, only to be thwarted by hero Lone Star, Bill Pullman. I just stumbled upon something on a YouTube video where I learned that the role of Lone Star originally was offered to Michael Biehn, who, was the lead in the Aliens, among other things, right? And it sounded like in the interview he regretted turning it down, but he also felt like, well, I just did the real thing, would have, hurt my career to do this spoof so quickly. But I think to work with Mel Brooks, I would, not that I'm in that position, but I would have done it if I were him. So his sidekick Barf, that's right, Mog is a species, Barf is the character's name, John Candy. So I predict that Josh Gad will be related to Barf. And the Druish princess Vespa by Daphne Zuniga. She'll have to be in this one, I would think. Others in the cast included Joan Rivers and Dick Van Patten. The film grossed only $38.1 million worldwide, but has endured over the years as a cult classic. I'd say it's more than a cult classic, but yeah, it's otherwise best known for turns in iconic works like Independence Day and David Lynch's Lost Highway. Bill Pullman has most recently been seen starring in series like The Sinner, as well as films including The High Note and Dark Waters. Upcoming, he has the Duffer Brothers Netflix series The Burrows, A24 is Famous, opposite Zac Efron, and more. I mean, yeah, Bill Pullman is just a real working actor, been in a lot of stuff, a lot of good performances, kind of understated a lot of times. So it's cool to see him in this. An icon of the 80s and 90s, Moranis rose to fame with roles in Ghostbusters, Little Shop of Horrors, the Honey I Shrunk the Kids films, and more, after writing and starring in famed Canadian sketch series SCTV. For those who haven't seen SCTV, that's kind of their version of SNL, except it's not live, and I think it's better in a lot of ways. Famously, he, for the most part, stepped away from, this talking about Moranis, stepped away from acting in the late 90s, focusing on raising his children following the passing of his wife, costume designer Ann Belsky. Most recently, he teamed with Ryan Reynolds on a 2020 ad for Mint Mobile. I mean, yeah, that says it all, right? That they mentioned his most recent on-screen thing as a commercial. But he stayed out of the business for a reason, and in interviews, he's appeared on a podcast here and there, and he say things like, if it's really the right project, I do it again, and kind of teased that he wouldn't mind working with Mel Brooks again. So I'm really happy that we're going to see him on the big screen. That would actually make me probably pretty emotional, because I guess I saw when the Flintstones was the last of his movies I saw in theaters, but like as a really little kid, I saw him in Honey I Shrunk the Kids in theaters was a big one. Palmer is coming off the success. So this is a Kiki Palmer at the top here. It doesn't say what kind of roles she's playing. Coming off the success of One of Them Days, a TriStar buddy comedy where she stars opposite SZA, which recently got a sequel set up for development. Next we'll be seeing, oh, okay, that's where I saw her. In The Pickup, which is Amazon's heist movie, out August 6th, opposite Eddie Murphy. Aziz Ansari's Lionsgate comedy Good Fortune, out October 17th. And Boots Riley's neon pick, I Love Boosters. So, and one thing the article left out, and probably because it's not that great, is there was a one season of an animated Spaceballs series on the cable channel G4, which was typically a video game kind of technology channel. And although Mel Brooks was involved in writing that, the animation was really poor, and although they got like Daphne Zuniga, Bill Pullman, Rick Moranis didn't come back, but almost everyone else came back for the Spaceballs animated series, and it just does not hit the mark, to say it lightly. I liked the History of the World Part 2 thing on Hulu a lot better. So yeah, that's Spaceballs 2 news. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. If you like what you see, give me a follow or a subscribe, and I hope to do one of these again as we get more news on Spaceballs. Catch you later. Bye.